everyone. Today we have David Weinhaus on the show today. He works at the Sales Enablement department in HubSpot. Thanks for joining us, David. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Where are you based today? It looks like you're working from home.
Yeah, so I'm in the home office today, which is in Natick, Massachusetts. Most people haven't heard of Natick, but it's about 15 miles west or so of Boston. Our claim to fame is that we're on the route for the Boston Marathon. So if you've heard of the Boston Marathon, we're about at the 10-mile point or so. So anyway, happy to be coming to you from Natick, Massachusetts today.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, great to have you on the show. And I just want to thank you for the sales training you've given myself and two other members of our team back in May. It's really been fantastic and took us to another level. And just don't know if I've thanked you personally. So there you go. Thanks for the training, David.
Yeah, happy to have you guys join. It's always a good time, and you guys are good practitioners and good learners as well. So it's been fantastic having you.
No, that's not a problem. And obviously, we all had some challenges with the role play, but we got through it and we passed in the end. So again, thank you.
Role play for the win. That's a huge part of any training, particularly sales training. So you guys were good sports about jumping in feet first into the role plays.
Yeah, great. You did make it difficult for us, and we remember that. So
not too easy, not too difficult. That's the goal.
That's the goal. Let's talk a little bit more about you, David, then. So what's your story? How did you get to HubSpot? What's the journey been?
Yeah, so I do sales enablement for HubSpot right now, which means I work with salespeople to help them sell better and faster. Prior to that, I was in sales at HubSpot for 5 years and did really well at it, where I got invited to join this new role. However, my background is not in sales at all. And I haven't in the past considered myself like a natural salesperson. So I started out after university actually doing some like software development. Also did some corporate marketing working for United Parcel Service there, and eventually got into sales only because I ended up moving and starting my own business. And when you have your own business, you sell. That's just what you do. You have to grow your business. And so as Daniel Pink says, like, to sell is human. Everyone sells. And there's no better way to learn that than either being a salesperson or starting your own business where you have to drive revenues coming into the door. So I was terrible at sales to start with. And part of it is I hadn't figured out my sales style or the right approach. I was actually, again, I worked at United Parcel Service for a while. And when I started my own businesses, it was selling freight. And the way that freight is traditionally sold is you don't go in the front door and meet with management. You go in the back door and meet with the guys on the freight docks, and you bring them donuts and hats and tickets to the baseball game. And I tried that, and it was terrible. I was like, my different people have different strengths. Like, I'm not a charming. That's not my sales strength is charming, right? I'm strategic. Like, I'm thoughtful. I'm a problem solver. Those are my strengths. And I didn't lean into my strengths because I didn't know what I was doing. I leaned into the donuts, bring it to the freight guys, and it just failed miserably. It wasn't what I was about. It wasn't particularly helpful to them, except for the guys that really like donuts. And I didn't make a lot of sales. And what I eventually realized is that I could lean into my strengths. I became much more strategic about which companies I wanted to work with. I became strategic about finding those companies for whom that I actually could help. And I took much more of a helpful, strategic, problem-solving approach with them, became very successful at that. Ultimately transitioned out of the freight world into the technology world. Living up here in Boston, freight wasn't quite as lucrative as it was in other parts of the country, and technology is a great field here in Boston. So I made the transition, jumped into sales, learned even more things, did very well at it here at HubSpot. And then in the last 2.5 years or so, I've been helping others to realize their sales potentials and lean into their strengths as well. So that's kind of the long version, Mark, of my story.
That's a great story. Are you ever based in the head office at HubSpot then, or you just work remotely 5 days a week?
No, I am in the head office. So I usually split my time between our Cambridge offices, which is our headquarters, and then here working out of the house over the phone.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Now, good background. I'm looking on your LinkedIn page the other night as well. Have you got an MBA in marketing? Is that correct? Have I picked that up right?
Yeah, that's right. So in between my software development and UPS, I went back to school and got an MBA in marketing with a marketing concentration. So
Yeah,
that was
congratulations.
worthwhile.
Yeah, congratulations. Busy man. Quick question then. Let's kick it off with, for our listeners out there who are mostly marketing professionals, let's keep this basic start with. What exactly is sales enablement, David? If you could give us an overview of that, that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that. I'm gonna lean on a definition that I gathered from Brainshark, which is a consulting firm, and I happen to like their definition. So it says that sales enablement is using training, content, and analytics to help the sales team sell more efficiently and more effectively. And what I like about that definition, I'm going to repeat the first part. It's all about using training, content, and analytics to help the sales team sell better. Is that those three words, training, content, and analytics, are three things that are right within the wheelhouse for marketers, typically. So marketers are typically great at producing content. We like analytics. We like looking at numbers and seeing what's working and what's not working. And we're pretty good at training too. We either appreciate the value of training or maybe we've run some trainings in the past, but we get it. It's like putting together, being helpful to people. What I also think is interesting about those three words is there are three things that helps the sales department, but that sales generally does not like to do at all. So, if you think about a typical salesperson, salespeople like to be out talking to prospects. They like working on deals. They like hustling. They like putting together pricing. They don't mind negotiating. They don't mind whining and dining, that kind of stuff. But if you talk to a salesperson about creating content, like their eyes are going to roll back in their head. If you talk to them about looking at analytics and reporting, like you're going to look away and they're going to be gone, right? Like salespeople hate talking about training and content and analytics, at least producing it themselves, but they do like it when it will help them to meet their number and they don't have to do it themselves. So there's this huge opportunity where we as marketers, I'm going to refer to myself as a marketer as well as a salesperson, but where we as a marketer can come in and use our kind of natural ability in these things to produce content, help the sales team with reporting, help them some trainings with some basic ways to use content and the things that we produce in marketing to really help them be that much more successful and help them meet their numbers. But I consider it very much low-hanging fruit because no one in the sales department really wants to be doing these things. They want to be going out and selling.
Okay, now I totally agree with everything you said there. If you could list some benefits then, what would you say? Benefits of sales enablement, to put that for an in-house marketeer to implement that within their business.
So I'm going to cover two levels of benefits. So one is to the company, and then we'll swing back around and talk about to the marketers. So let's talk about to the company first. So a couple of trends here. So number one, again, salespeople want to be selling, but the research I've seen shows about 55 to 60% of a salesperson's job is related to non-selling activities.
Yeah.
So those include things like sitting in meetings, filling in, logging activities in a CRM system, searching for a presentation template, writing emails, filling out expense reports, doing all of these, like, to a salesperson, these miserable items that you have to do, right, to do your job. But what you really want to be doing is that 40% of your time on selling. So there's a huge opportunity there if some of that work can be reduced and taken off of a salesperson's plate, or they can be made more effective, given more scalable and better tools. Like they can increase the amount of time they're selling, and they can take the existing time and use it more efficiently, which ultimately means the benefit to the company is that salespeople become more productive and revenues go up, right? Revenues go up. That's the biggest and hugest benefit. I think the other benefit is to marketers is there's this opportunity to become a hero. All right. So it can be kind of tough being a marketer, especially if you're just working on like collateral and things like that all day, which is hugely valuable. Like I don't want to minimize that. But if we're doing that alone, we're further distanced from revenue, right? The advantage that salespeople have over marketing people in terms of getting credit is they're so closely tied to revenue, right? So when we have a great quarter, like everyone's, huzzah for sales, right?
Yep.
But then the challenge is if sales doesn't have a great quarter, sales obviously get some blame, but marketing gets blamed too, right? We don't get any of the credit in marketing, but we get the blame because the leads sucked or there weren't enough leads or the trade show wasn't as cool as it could have been or whatever it is. So that's kind of like part of the job in marketing. We sign up for that, we realize it, but at the same time, we want to take opportunities to attach ourselves and connect what we do with revenue. And if we can help the sales team to drive revenues, and we can become, I use the term a hero to the sales organization, we secure our value and also recognition for the efforts that we're doing. And again, the beauty of this is compared to like putting together campaigns, doing buyer personas and all this other kind of stuff, a lot of times helping the sales team is like the easy peasy stuff. But there are huge rewards there in terms of recognition and the value of our work in terms of helping sales to close more business, which is nice.
Okay, David, you mentioned tools then. So we want to become a hero. And we agree with everything you say. What tools can we use to implement this?
So I think there's some really basic tools that I can run through. And Mark, I would say, well, the first thing I would say is I don't even know if I would lead with the tools themselves, because the tools tend to get into technology, and a lot of the things that we can do for a sales team are really not even technology dependent.
Okay.
All right. So I'll give you a really simple example, which is the technology is a camera.
Yep.
Okay. If you look at most of your salespeople, if I'm speaking to marketers now, and you look at do a little experiment with me. Go and 5 of your salespeople, go and look at their LinkedIn pages. All right. And go and look at the pictures on those LinkedIn pages. Right? Mark's chuckling. Yep. What are you picturing? Like some guy on a golf course, right? Like leaning back, smoking a cigar, right? Like I would not be shocked if your salesperson had that picture on LinkedIn. Hopefully they don't, but maybe they have a wedding picture where they have their arm around their buddy and they have, like a glass of champagne. Or, maybe it's just like a shot that looks like it was taken at, 4:30 on a Friday afternoon when they've had a tough week, right? But what it's probably not is this beautiful professional picture with a nice backdrop where they're in like nice, professional attire. And the reason is salespeople like good pictures. They don't arrange for photographers, right?
Yep.
So do something. A camera. Again, the tool here is a camera. After your next sales kickoff meeting, your sales meeting, arrange for a professional photographer. Let all the sales team know you'll be having a photographer there. Wear their nice, professional attire. Put up a nice backdrop and take pictures, right? You make the salespeople have egos, right? I'll speak as a salesperson myself. We have egos. We like nice pictures. We just don't like to put in the work that it takes to do it. Just make it easy for them. And all of a sudden you're going to upgrade, not just your professional presence on your website, but now you've upgraded your professional presence because your salespeople LinkedIn page, I hate to break this to you, it's part of your company's professional presence. And so that's a really simple example of, it's not even particularly technology or tool dependent, but it's a way that you can make your salespeople look really good. All right, so camera, that's number one. That's number one tool. Other types of tools, we'll go into a little bit of the technology stack as well, but there are a lot of things that you can do. Another tool is the CRM. So making sure that your sales team has a CRM that works really easily and works for them. I realize for a marketing team, sometimes it's not really up to us what the CRM system is, but sometimes, particularly if your salespeople are among the 40%, and this number is 40% of salespeople that are using like Excel or Outlook or Google Docs as their system of record for their sales conversations and their prospects, there are really simple CRM solutions out there. And I'll put in a plug here for HubSpot because we have one of them. It doesn't have to be HubSpot, but there are simple, easy sales systems out there that are light years ahead of using Excel, Outlook, spreadsheets, and those kind of things. You can make those available to your sales team very easily. right? And then a third one, I'll just recommend a third one and then I'll stop, Mark. But again, kind of on this theme of it doesn't have to be the fanciest technology, like Dropbox, right? Or a central repository, Google Drive or Box or whatever it is. Like your salespeople, here's what happens when they're looking for like a presentation deck. All right. So imagine you have a bullpen of salespeople, like 10 salespeople. One guy stands up out of the cube and he goes, "Does anybody have a presentation that I could use? That would be nice for this." And then one guy goes, "I got one." Another person goes, "I got," and then guy goes, "I got one, but it's kind of old." And then he gets his 10 presentations and they all have logos that are like different sizes and skewed and warped and it's terrible. And he's got to now go through like these 10 different examples to come up with one. So another technology that you can use is simply Dropbox. Come up with like collateral that your sales team will use on a regular basis, and a presentation template or a case study are two great places to start. Just make them centrally available. Do a little bit of version control on them. So when you get a new version that comes out, just replace the old version with the new version. So now instead of going through 10, they can go through one. All the colors look nice. The logos look nice. And they can spend their time on filling in the important parts of the proposal and not futzing around with, you don't want your salespeople futzing around with like, Photoshop or Microsoft Paint or God, you definitely don't want that. So that's a really easy tool that you can use for them as well. Sorry, Mark, I got on my soapbox there a little bit.
No.
This stuff doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, I was enjoying that. I think you can see me chuckling there. Really good. My next question was, is there any quick wins? I think you've kind of answered that. Obviously, the camera and the profile pictures, they're definitely quick wins. I know you've only skirted by the HubSpot stack, which is Sales Enablement. I'd like to touch a little bit more on that. A lot of the advantages we use for that is sequences, email, templates, meetings. Anything else in there? Could you elaborate on any of these helpful features?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think there are a lot of quick wins to be had to start with, and those are often a really good place to start because again, they're easy. Like compared to like putting together campaigns and buyer personas and all this stuff, like LinkedIn picture, getting a proposal template together. Some of these things are super easy. I think there is then another level where we can take it up a notch. That's probably where you do start getting into a little bit more partnering with technology to do certain things. So, Mark, you mentioned a couple of them that I really like. So one is I think you mentioned nurturing. So salespeople, they like to have ongoing relationships with their prospects who haven't bought yet, but they're pretty terrible about reaching out consistently and nurturing former prospects. So this is a great area where technology and automation can help. So if you're not nurturing leads or opportunities for your sales team, and what I mean by that is putting together like a sequence of emails that might tap into a particular seasonal time of year, or maybe it's just a check-in sequence. Those are great. Those are great campaigns that you can run on the sales team. Now, I should say with nurturing, we're typically used to running those at the top of the funnel. So when someone converts for the first time, we may put a sequence together. Maybe we'll put a sequence together around events, but rarely do we tailor nurturing sequences for the sales team. Okay. So an example of doing that might be running a close loss campaign. So everyone that the sales team hasn't spoken with for 6 months, right, but who they marked as high priority type of customers, we might want to tailor a specific campaign and maybe even put together an offer where we target it at that particular segment. If we can turn those close lost opportunities into new opportunities for the sales team, they're going to be super excited about something like that. So that's one element where you would need some kind of a technology, enabler to do that. Again, HubSpot is very good at doing something like that. There are other solutions as well. And there are other examples like that, whether it's, we call them sequences here at HubSpot, but putting together prospecting sequences that your salespeople can use. And again, instead of them looking for good like prospecting emails and again, sticking their hand up on the sales floor and getting 10 examples back, because you can work with a couple of the top salespeople, put together some nice templates that have worked in the past and kind of incorporate some best practices. And then you can make those available in a central repository where they can, pull them into their Gmail or pull them into their Outlook. And again, HubSpot has a sales enablement platform that helps with that last stage of making it really easy for them to access and also easy for them to track which ones are working the best. But there's a lot of opportunity to kind of help them in those stages of the process as well.
Yeah, I mean, the call we had with Dan Tyre probably 6-7 months ago, he gave us some homework to go away and actually implement and start using the meetings feature on our website and landing pages. And he told us the conversions can increase up to 40%. You have to believe him because it's Dan Tyre. We went away, did that a week later, and he's absolutely right. Our conversions have increased from people contacting us now and booking meetings straight into our sales team direct from our website. So how have you found that feature?
Yeah, that meetings feature, which is the ability to embed, a salesperson's calendar right on the website, can really increase conversions tremendously. So if you have a contact us, and then what typically happens is, they send off an email and the salesperson gets notified, and then they have to go back and forth. And meanwhile, maybe the salesperson doesn't get back to them for 12 hours or 24 hours, and it's not as hot anymore for the prospect. You want to make that as frictionless as possible. So as soon as they request a contact, they can be brought to a calendar. They can actually book a meeting right while they're on your website. And we've seen that's improved conversions. I don't know what the numbers that Dan says, 7 times over, 4 times over, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's ridiculously high.
It's significant.
Great. You are a wealth of knowledge, David. We all know that. Have you got any helpful links or resources you could point our viewers and ourselves in the direction of any helpful resources?
So I can point out a couple books that I like.
Okay, great.
From a sales perspective, I like the Sales Acceleration formula, which is by Mark Roberge, who built our sales team from literally 0 to 100 million. And he talks about the characteristics of like how we hire at HubSpot, how we manage, and how we excel here. And particularly, he grew the sales organization, so he speaks about it very much from a managerial perspective. So that's a really good source. We have a ton of sales enablement resources at HubSpot as well. Maybe, Mark, I can share those with you afterwards. I don't have the page handy, but if you want a shortcut, you can search on Sales Enablement and HubSpot, and you're going to pull back a ton of resources. And then, Mark, I think we have some central repository for some resources as well that maybe we can offer in the follow-up links to this podcast. But we've been talking about the topic for the last, 18 months or so, and we put together some good information.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, David. We can add that to the show notes as well. That'd be really helpful. And the last question today, before we let you get back to work, is if you could give one tip to our viewers, what would it be?
Okay, so here's my tip. So I kind of shared some really simple things that you can do to make your sales team look like a hero. I think there is a big relationship and cultural element going on here too. All right, and this one's probably a little bit harder to get through, but I'm going to encourage you to get through it. I'm going to explain what it is in a second. So, when I go out and speak about this topic, I put out this kind of blind poll where I ask, what is one word that describes your sales department? And usually my audience is marketers. And it's interesting what comes back. All right. There's some really positive ones there that say sales is like smart, they're hungry, they're driven. And then I get some words back that like, thank God this is anonymous, because like there's some feelings out there between marketing and sales. And it shows up like pretty raw sometimes by the words, like, trying to remember, I probably like block them from my memory, but like, money hungry or lying or, like just like words that are like, there's some feelings out there between marketing and sales. And I'm not speaking to everyone's sales and marketing organization. So maybe there are some like, bad apples out there. I don't want to make a blanket statement, but in general, like for this to work, marketing and sales have to like step a foot into each other's camp a little bit and understand. And unfortunately, if you're a marketer, you're on the short end of the stick. All right. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's like people describe this as a marriage, and you can think of this as a marriage, but you know what? Like sales is kind of the selfish partner in the marriage. Like, I'm going to be pretty honest with you, all right? Like, sales, we're not necessarily this warm and fuzzy. Like, we want to hit our number, and like, we're being yelled at all day to hit our numbers. So it may be a partnership, and that's a good way to view it. But sales is not like always the warm, fuzzy, loving type. But okay, that doesn't mean that they really don't need help in their own way, and they won't recognize it in their own way as well. All right, so just go into this with the expectation that it's not necessarily a given back and forth. Like, you're not necessarily going to get the love back from sales initially like you might want. You might feel they're a little selfish, focused on their number. They're going and taking, their clients to lunch and stuff. But don't let that hold you back. All right. Try to understand, try to help sales. The great thing about working with a salesperson is they will tell you everything that's wrong under the sun. I mean, it's not hard to figure out where there's opportunity for improvement. So if you start helping them, even with the LinkedIn picture, and maybe help them spruce up their LinkedIn profile, get them set up with like some email notifications when their leads come back and visit their site, just the simple stuff. Start to just build that relationship. Try to sit in on some sales meeting, understand where there's some pains, some problems, some opportunities. Take a salesperson out to lunch, take them out to breakfast, buy them a beer. They'll give you an earful of things that aren't working like it should be, but things that could be better. And then just start kind of slowly helping and build that relationship. And the more you do that, the more trust you're going to earn, the more you're going to be appreciated for how you're helping, not just in marketing, but helping in sales as well. And at the end of the day, it's going to make your position much more secure, much more visible, and you will reap the rewards. You just have to get by that initial stumbling block of these sales guys and gals. Like, I don't know, man. They don't, they're jerks, or they're out for themselves. No, yeah. Like, fight through that, all right? Because they're just people too.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree with that. And you was very diplomatic in your wording there. I was impressed. Very impressed.
I work on it.
Yeah. Thank you so much, David. I'll let you get off now. You have got a couple of days holiday now, Thanksgiving in the States. Is that correct?
That's right. So yeah, to have a couple of days off. So this is one of my final tasks before Thanksgiving.
Oh, great stuff. And what's your plan for the remainder of the year? Have you got any projects underhand, or just keep training?
Yeah, we got a few things in store. Still like early stages. So sales enablement is not too distant from one of them. We want to help. We want to help marketers help their sales teams even more. So probably related to my end of the world, that probably relates to putting out some trainings or maybe doing some new boot camps or things like that. But we're starting to put some thought into it.
Okay. Again, thank you for the training for me, my team, and thank you for being on our podcast. And we'll speak again soon, David. Okay. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right.